from Chief fans being scared that we're going to wake up one day and Brett Veach is going to trade him out. Kansas City, like he did with Tyreek Hill. Brett Veach gave an interview with KC Star this week, kind of letting people know that that's not going to be the case. I pulled out some of the quotes here, JD. So he's a great player and he wants a big contract. He deserves a big contract. And I don't think there's any surprises in that regard. But there's just some hurdles we have to work through in regards to how we can keep this thing going for the short and the long term. But we've never wavered on this is a guy that we want to exhaust all our efforts to get done because that's how much we think of him. You have to keep in mind that when we did make that move with Tyreek, one of the determining factors was because there was an expected Chris Jones deal. And so to do Tyreek, there was a concern of, will we be able to do Chris? And so that was a moment of time, and it was before the draft that we hit the reset button. And we're like, it's really hard to trade a player the magnitude of Tyreek Hill, but we're following that up with someone just as significant and on the defensive side. You reach this point where I think both parties want to just kind of take a deep breath and reset a little bit. And then the talks become less frequent, but at the same time, the start of the season is September 7th. So by nature, they're going to have to heat up again. And like I said, that's why we are still optimistic. So JD, you've been saying all along you're not concerned by this whole thing. Every day, if I was Chris Jones, I'd be a little concerned because I'm losing $50,000 every day. I'm not in training camp, but he's going to make his money back soon here with this big contract. And also there's been some other things on social media. Chris Jones tweeting different cryptic things. He's tweeted song lyrics like last week that everyone was really scared about. Then he tweeted the other day, KC, ... I love you. Some people brought up before he signed his last deal with us, he said something pretty similar like Kansas City, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. And then it was reported the next day he got his big deal, but he hasn't gotten his deal yet. So obviously that tweet was just him, saying stuff. But what do you make of Brett Veach's comments, and what do you just make of Chris Jones in this situation as of right now?
I'm telling you, I know this. Brett Veach knows this. Everybody on the team knows this, and the entire NFL knows this. Kansas City Chiefs are much better with Chris Jones in there. He's our defensive MVP. He's our guy that we need. The reason we got 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, went to 3 of them, is because of Chris Jones. That's pure and simple. And Brett Veach says so in that statement. He knows that. He knows this. And so make no mistake about it. That is priority number 1. Now, I don't know as far as like where they are as far as with number-wise. I've heard some reports here and there about this. I'll tell you what he don't want to do. He don't want to see Chris Jones walk up out that, out of the Chiefs uniform or have any more problems. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm not. I think I may put a tweet out there and say, hey, maybe after the second preseason game or maybe third, I'll start rubbing my chin a little bit like, okay, what's going on? Because usually you start getting into preseason games, you start wondering, okay, now guys are going to start getting things done. Because you wanted to get into shape. Now you want him to get into game shape. Okay, if not, he's going to be behind the 8 ball. I said it's about a week and a half it's going to take. So we're coming around about that time, man. I think maybe hopefully this weekend, maybe after the first preseason game, you're going to see some things change. Probably the first of next week, man, Chris Jones is going to come flying in on a helicopter. They're going to parachute him on down or whatever they need to do, put him out there on the field, let him run around a little bit. Hey, we got this thing done. So I believe Brett Veach is trying to get this thing put on paper. But yeah, I'm sure it's been a little hectic. This is how negotiations go, especially with big name guys, a guy who is integral to your success. The difference between Tyreek Hill and Chris Jones was on offense, you still had 2 other guys that could make the thing click, namely PM15 and Travis Kelce. Defense, you need Chris Jones. You need him in the middle. You need his production. Chris Jones is, I forgot, I had the top 4 in sacks last year. A defensive tackle, top 4 in the past 5 years in the entire NFL as a defensive tackle. That's what defensive ends and everybody. You cannot mimic that success. You know what I'm saying? That like you can't scheme and move a guy around to get that type of production that you need 15 and a half sacks. I mean, you just can't. He could blitz more. Maybe that's what you could possibly do, but that puts everybody else in jeopardy. And that's another thing. You don't have his presence on the middle, in the inside part of the field. That puts everybody else, makes their job harder. Linebackers' jobs harder. Secondary jobs harder. Everybody's jobs are going to be a lot tougher. If you don't get the pressure and you don't get the guy making the sacks when it's needed and making plays in the backfield when it's needed, he, without a doubt, he advances and makes everybody else's game up. He does. He makes it even bigger. That's what it is. Everything is going up to a different level with Chris Jones in there. Everybody that's playing around him is getting better because of him. If you don't have him in there, watch everybody else suffer. Now you don't have a Menahu for the first 6 games? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I tell you what. We need to go ahead and sign Chris Jones. We need to go ahead and sign him now. Everybody keeps talking about. See, that's what. Oh my gosh. Everybody keeps talking about. Oh well, he's almost 30 years old and he's going to sign it. Playing defensive tackle, Chris Jones had 15 and a half sacks. He's still going to be good for the next 4 years. I'm telling you,
at least
because he's taking care of his body. You know what I'm saying? He, defensive tackle. You can have some nicks and things and still be able to be productive. I know we've seen like Aaron Donald, get hurt this past year, and everybody's kind of like, well, we don't want to pay that. But Chris is deservingly so, needs to get paid a big contract. I mean, look, I know he's making $20 million, 18, whatever this next year is going to be, whatever it's going to be, right? He signed a lucrative deal, but now he's not top 5, I guess, defensive tackles anymore, right? I mean, he's like, sure, maybe top 10. I don't even know numbers wrong, but I know he's not one of the top 2, which he's the top 2 best defensive tackles in the entire NFL, arguably number 1. Okay, and it needs to be paid as such.
Yeah, he's number 8.
So yeah, so he's top 10. But Chris needs, hey man, I need to be compensated for what I do. Oh yeah, well, you make the $20 million. These guys gave up money so you could be on a team and do a team-friendly deal. Chris is like, look, hey, what about my team-friendly deal? What about me being friendly? Be friendly to me, right? Let the team be friendly to me.
Yeah,
sure. You got every right to do that. Go ahead.
And my point to what you just said was like the people who were saying that, you got guys not taking money. Well, if Mahomes and Kelce are leaving money out on the table, if we're not paying Chris Jones, then what are we saving that money for? Because did anybody look at this offseason? Because we didn't pay anything to anybody. So like, what are those guys not taking the full bread for? If Kelce's not maximizing what he can get, if Mahomes isn't maximizing what he can get, then what are we saving that money for then? Those guys are doing that so that we can keep Chris Jones and other guys.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are making big money off the books or doing other things, in commercials and all type of other things, right? And so their money is a little bit different, as far as what they're able to capitalize because of their star status. And so I see Chris Jones, I guess, tackling the TV. I'm like, oh, it's Chris.
Yeah.
Was it DirecTV? Was that what it was? Yeah, DirecTV commercial. I was like, that's cool.
Kelce and him are in that DirecTV commercial.
Yeah. So now that was good. That was good. But his face is not like you see Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You know who those 2 guys are. Most guys might not even know who Chris Jones is just by looking at him in his face. You know what I'm saying? And know how big of a star he is. If you're not a huge football fan, let me put it that way, right?
Yeah, it's the position. It's the defensive tackle. It's not like a flashy. It's not that flashy. I mean, of a position really. I mean, even when Sapp was the big face for the defensive tackles back in the early 2000s, I mean, even he wasn't marketed that much. He probably was marketed more so than other defensive tackles had been at that time. But like, even he wasn't. Donald hasn't really been marketed that much.
No, you're limited to certain things, man. So. Look, man, Chris should go out there and get it. I think they would still get something done. They still working the numbers because they had to look down the road about who they want to sign here. And, I mean, I get that part of it. I get it. I really do. So I'm not really worried. I'm truly am not really worried. Uh, like I said, I'll probably start, rub my chin a little bit. Maybe we start getting around to about the third preseason game and it's like happening. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's really going on, right? So I don't know why players always had to sign team friendly deals, right? Why don't you just pay a guy what he's worth, what the market is?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
And he's asking for top 2 money. He's not asking for to be the number 1 guy. So I also think that's like he's still being fair to us because he's saying I want to be top 2. I just want to be ahead of Quinn Williams. I think it's number 2 right now. Yeah, I want to be ahead of Quinn Williams. That's it. Okay, so
yeah,
to do that,
right. So like I said, I don't know what the numbers are. I know it's been different reports out about what it is. This, only they really know. Getting down to it fully, what everybody's trying to sign for, what Chris is trying to sign him for. So what Brett's trying to sign him for. But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris is Patrick Mahomes on defense for us.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, JD, on that one. Hopefully they get it done soon. That $50,000 a day is tough, and apparently I was reading that guys who are on their rookie deal when they miss training camp, they can when they sign their contract again, they can get it back, or people on a tag they get it back. But Chris won't be able to recoup the $50,000 a day he's missed because it's
because he's already under a contract.
Because he already got another contract, yeah. Which is it's crazy. But I mean, he's gonna make with his contract, he's gonna make a lot of money. So like that's
that's
So I guess it makes out in the end for him.
Yeah.
Hi everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.